Welcome to Mac and Blue, where we introduce you to who is building Arizona, bringing you the people and businesses that shape the landscape around us. From economic development and developers, underwriters and lenders, architects and engineers, to the very builders and suppliers that bring it all together. Now let's join our hosts, Robert Johnson and JJ Levinsky, aka Mac and Blue.
Welcome to Mac and Blue. I'm Robert Johnson, VP of Business Development with Torrey Contracting. He's JJ Levinsky, President of Blue Wave General Contracting.
How you doing?
You beat me to it.
Oh.
I paused on purpose to see if you do it. So I'm doing great. How are you?
Good.
That's excellent. And we have Daryl Robinson, our producer. You are there today, aren't you?
That is correct. I am here.
Awesome. And we are very pleased to have Samantha Pinkal, Vice President of Business Development. Did I say your name right?
You nailed it.
I did. Awesome.
We're getting better at this, Robert.
We really are.
Good guess.
With Greater Phoenix Economic Council. I like GPEC so much better. Welcome.
Thank you. It's amazing to be here.
Yeah, it's fun. This is a blast for us, and we hope it is for you. And it's incredible to have you. It really is.
It is.
Tell us a little about you and about what you do at GPEC.
Well, I am a small town girl living in a big city now. There's a song about that, I think.
I just almost broke out into song,
right?
But I won't.
The song's not about me, but it does describe me well. It could be.
But rumor has it was modeled off after.
Yeah. I was definitely inspired that song. Well, I'm from Southwest Nebraska. JJ and I were just realizing that we both have a connection to my birth town, McCook, Nebraska. About 20 miles from Colorado, about 40 miles from Kansas. So I'm from the real Nebraska. 2,000 people, 60 miles away from Walmart. That's where I'm from.
60 miles away from Walmart. I love it.
Usually that's a good reference
But Amazon
point.
distribution is just down the road.
Yeah. So I grew up in Southwest Nebraska, went to school in Southeast Kansas, Pittsburgh State University, home of the Gorillas. I got my degree in construction management, all thanks to the Girl Scouts. So I was in Girl Scouts growing up. Our Gold Award project was to design and build a gazebo. And so through that process, learned that I'm not good at designing. I'm also very not good at actually building, but the management of the project was a real job.
And you were a PM at one time.
And I was a PM for a little while. Mm-hmm. Yep, for the Whites Company. Mm-hmm. So I ended up working with Whites for 10 years. And we won a project for the Girl Scouts here to remodel Camp Sombrero on South Mountain. Now the Bob and Renee Parsons Center for Leadership.
Mm-hmm. So did they recruit you out of college?
Yeah.
But now, did you start here in Arizona?
I did.
Okay.
I interned in 06, 07, so good money time. And then I started full-time in January 2009, which was a bad money time, not great. But I was there for 10 years, managed projects for 5, moved into business development, business strategy, the second 5. And then after 10 years, needed something else, something more. And so the City of Surprise was hiring a project manager for economic development. Mm-hmm. And Janine and her team were kind enough to give me a chance to come into the public sector, work on the economic development team as a PM. So same skill set, same stuff, just helping selling a city.
Project is a project.
Yeah. So, and then I could speak company. I knew why timelines were so important. I know how much money is at jeopardy there and why it matters. So helping them understand then how do you get through the city process as quickly as possible was really helpful. Mm-hmm. And so I worked at Surprise and economic development for 2.5 years, and then a position opened at GPEC. And I was familiar with GPEC from my time at Whites. Of course, my time, because Whites is an investor. Mm-hmm. And then the City of Surprise is, of course, contracted with GPEC. And so I knew how amazing the GPEC team is. It's a bunch of people who are really good at their job, who have endless energy to do an amazing over-the-top. They always go the extra mile. Don't even have to be asked. It's like I was in the honors college at university, and everyone was like a big fat nerd about what they loved. And it's kind of like that, like being on a team of high performers is awesome to the benefit of the community, to the benefit of the companies, and overall to the metro. So That's who I am and how I got here.
You landed in your perfect spot.
Oh, it's
I mean, I just
Yeah.
listened to her talk. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you nailed it with the biz dev stuff.
For the audience, she's elevated off her chair right now. So Halo
There's a little hovering noise in the background.
she's in her Zen moment.
Yeah, right.
So when you say contracted with the city, GPEC is contract, or I'm sorry, the other way around. Surprise is contracted with GPEC.
Yes.
How's that work? What's the process there and why?
Yeah, good question. GPEC is the Regional Economic Development Organization. So we represent the region of Greater Phoenix.
Mhm.
We are a nonprofit, public-private partnership. We're funded through the private sector. So investors like the Whites Company,
Sure.
many GCs, many architects, engineers, title companies, finance, basically the array of business services, anything a business would need when they come here to establish operations. So we have that side. And then we have the public funding, which is per capita per city. And we also have Maricopa County. So you can imagine Greater Phoenix is the largest in population, so they have
Right.
the largest contracts. But we also service even our smaller communities like Wickenburg and Gila Bend and everything in between. Wickenburg to Apache Junction, Casa Grande, all the way up to North Phoenix, Gila Bend, we have all those. So there's 22 cities that we serve, and then about 200 private sector investors.
Interesting.
So on that, then, when you said the cities, do you have oversight over the other economic development? Like let's use Nathan as an example.
Yeah.
So like Nathan Steele that was on from City of Maricopa,
Mhm.
Economic Development Director.
Mhm.
You work hand in hand with him then, correct?
Correct. So GPEC is an extension of their business attraction services. So
Gotcha.
we act on behalf of the region to attract business, to relocate or expand, really to invest in the region. So yeah, I listened to Nathan's episode. He did such a good job explaining what is economic development, why does it matter, how does it work within the city, and how does a city work for that matter. So I thought he did a great job of giving a foundation there. And so, like I said, we help supplement each city's economic development attraction function. So they also are doing their retention and expansion services with companies that are already there. They do small business stuff, they do workforce stuff. We're here to do business attraction. So we help with really building that business case of why would a company want to be here. So we have regional data on workforce, on hard costs like real estate, taxes, utilities, soft costs like labor, the burden, wages, and then we'll also offer labor pool comparisons.
Mhm.
So I specialize in the industrial sectors. So we're often looking at Inland Empire, Reno, Salt Lake City, Texas, a couple of places in Texas. And so we're looking at cost comparison, but we also are looking at labor pool comparison. And 9 times out of 10, Greater Phoenix will have the larger labor pool, sometimes by 2 or 3x. So what that means for companies is confidence that they have a qualified labor pool that exists already.
Mhm.
And there's more of them here than in other locations that they're considering. So it's better chances of hiring qualified labor.
On that, Samantha, can you give an example without telling any secrets of something in the, like, let's say in the last year or two that maybe the audience would relate to, like something you were actively involved in?
Let's see. There's been a couple, a solar company recently,
Okay.
Meyer Burger. So they are a European-based company. They came to the U.S. market. They had promised their board, actually, that they would establish U.S. operations.
Dangerous promise.
Ooh, yeah. Going live before you're ready.
Yeah.
No. They had a great
That kind
strategy.
of sounds like our story,
Yeah,
Robert.
it does. Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, let's
That's
go.
our slogan.
Let's go. They had operations here already, but they really wanted to bring a more resilient, robust operation here. And so what we did was help compare to 5 or 6 different metros, some of which are known for their solar manufacturing, some of which were just familiar to management because they lived there, their kids lived there, they had a partner there, something drew their attention. So we were looking and comparing Greater Phoenix to places in Ohio that were quite small, actually. Pennsylvania, somewhere on the East Coast, somewhere in Texas. So we were comparing all across the country, really making the case of why would you pick Greater Phoenix? So among all the reasons, workforce was a giant positive comparison compared to these other markets of not only labor generally,
Right.
because we are the 5th largest city in the U.S.,
Mhm.
but then qualified labor. So we already had people that in the skill sets they needed already lived here and they could hire them. So that's one example. They ended up committing to a property in Goodyear. So they will be, as soon as they can get their equipment and their parts and pieces here, they'll ramp up their operation.
So will you start these conversations with these people? Do they come to you and start with you, and you then, where you look all over the valley, and wherever they land, and it gets handed off to them?
Yep, exactly. Sometimes they come directly to us. Sometimes we come directly to them. There's indicators of like mergers and acquisitions or leadership changes that can trigger. There could be a change in their real estate needs. They might want to relocate or consolidate operations from, let's say, the Inland Empire is a popular migration into Phoenix from the LA area. Sometimes it comes to us through they hire a site consultant, a site selection consultant they say, tell us where we should go. And the consultant will do the evaluation and use our information as part of their service to the company. Sometimes it comes through the broker. The brokerage community will ask us, hey, can you help me really put some sprinkles on this cupcake about why they should come to Greater Phoenix? Those are my words. They don't actually say that
I
to
like
me.
that.
But
No, but I'm going to use that again. I promise you I'm going to use that again.
I'm going to start talking about our jackets as sprinkles.
As sprinkles on a cupcake.
You
Yeah, there you
guys
go.
are really missing out. If you're not tuning in to the video, Robert's jacket is so good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's my second time with it. I didn't bring the
audience,
true Liberace jacket.
We were going down the Wayne Newton Liberace thing before we got on, and you wear it well.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did.
Yeah.
And as your wife's listening, she can attest.
Yeah, and it was her. It was her fault, which is okay. I'm glad she did.
So Samantha,
Thank you.
one thing that came up as you were talking that I was kind of geeking out on is, how do you keep the data current? Where do you get the data from? How do you get access to that data? Like, who gives you that? Or how in your relationships can you keep up with the latest?
Well, very fortunately, GPEC's staffed by about 30 people. I'm on the business development team, so the sales team, there's 9 of us. We all specialize in different industries. And then we also have a team focused on foreign direct investment. So that's the BD team. We have marketing and strategy. We have our operations team. And then we have the most amazing department, and the ones that really make us tick and make us difference and make us an award-winning organization is our research team. So we have a handful, I think we're up to 6 now, of research professionals who that is what they do. We say, hey, this company is looking for this type of labor or chemical recyclers or whatever. And can you help us figure out who they are and what they are and how to use them? So we have a research team. They use a lot of the public data, like the American Community Survey. They could also subscribe to private services like MZ or Esri. There's a whole business in collecting and synthesizing data. So it's a combination of both public data from the government as well as private data sources.
You know, what's amazing about all this is that the normal, not that we're not normal, but the normal layperson does not, I mean, I'm in the construction business, and I really don't think about this stuff. And we've already got enough stuff that we could just shut down right now and have a great program of what really goes into drawing business to our area. It's more than just, so-and-so came and said, oh, you've got an empty building. That's great.
Yeah, right.
I mean, all of these things that we're talking about, labor, qualified labor, and we're not talking labor to build the building. We're talking about to work in the building.
That's right.
So it's fascinating stuff.
So Samantha, I think a classic example would be, did GPEC have an active involvement in TSMC?
Yes.
I would think the answer is yes.
In collaboration with lots of other
right.
The state, of course, the Arizona Commerce Authority with the help of the governor, City of Phoenix, that's the jurisdiction that it's located in.
Right.
So between those 3 plus other partners, no doubt there was a lot of other industry participation to say, yes, we want you here and here's why. And here's why it makes sense. Of course, they were looking all over the country, and there were even multiple sites in Greater Phoenix under consideration. So there's so much that goes into site selection that's beyond, oh, that looks good. That looks like a nice location.
How long were those talks going on before it became public?
Years. I think that project had a runway of somewhere in the 5-year
Doesn't
conversation.
surprise me.
No,
I mean, it's a
really.
$12 billion investment. You don't spend that quickly.
I think we know it's even more than that. But
It sure could be.
Now,
Yeah.
what? So if that was, I mean, let's be honest. We know that between that and Intel and all the ancillary things that are spinning off of that Phoenix is now looked at as a major manufacturing hub in the world, not just in the contiguous U.S.
Right.
What are you seeing trends on the backside of that, Stephanie? Or like
Stephanie.
Samantha.
Do you know that's the number 1 name I get miscalled?
Are you really?
Yeah.
Well,
Or Amanda.
No, I apologize.
No, I take no offense. It's okay.
This is even. She really is geeky. I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, I don't know if there's something she doesn't know yet.
The power
So,
of
okay, so let's go back. Go ahead, Stephanie.
So, okay, Bob and Jimmy. Is that how we're going to go?
That's
Okay,
it.
new name.
I would love to geek out and just listen to what, like in your job, how does that look now? Because I think everyone wants to ask, okay, yes, we've got the Intel and, maybe the LG thing and, all these other things that were related around the semiconductor industry, but in your world right now and representing GPEC, what is it going to look like 5 years from now?
Whoa.
And yet, there's no crystal ball, but
$1 million question.
But talk about the cool stuff.
$12 billion question. Yeah, so semiconductors, certainly. So now we have 2 anchor companies that have a very robust supply chain. Intel already had its supply chain somewhat established here. And really, semiconductors have been around in Phoenix for a long time. It's a legacy industry for us. Motorola started operation in 1949.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is also, when we started growing with the invention of air conditioning and whatnot. So, I mean, this has been a legacy industry that's just not.
Yeah, you don't even think about that.
No, not at all.
That's a great point.
Not at all. So we have some of that. That will continue to grow. So TSMC coming from Taiwan is now giving a reason for other Taiwanese companies to come here as well, to reduce their risk of supplying TSMC with its chemicals, the service, the equipment, so on and so forth, to make that run. So we have, between about 40 companies in that supply chain that are at some stage of evaluating Greener Phoenix for a location. And that's hard, by the way. So you guys know that even if you're opening an operation in another state, it's still difficult because there's new rules.
Sure.
There's new everything. So imagine.
And another country.
Imagine coming from another country,
Yeah.
like that's completely different. And the cost differential is already like 2x back in 2020 when we're all thinking about it. It's already 2x times more expensive from Taiwan to the US. And now with inflation and the things that have been happening, we're like 3 and 4x. So it's a big deal. So we're very glad to be able to help them and support them. And we're learning a lot in the process. So I'm learning a lot about chemical manufacturing and recycling and how does that work? What's that ecosystem mean in order to help these companies have better confidence to come here? So
Are you getting any, I wouldn't call it pushback, but are we getting any concerns that labor pool, are we hitting our glass ceiling, quote unquote, or have you seen a retraction in any of those? I'm not saying companies, I'm saying ancillary businesses that are looking at call it the manufacturing, distribution, industrial, since that's your background.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to drive around here not to see all the tilt-ups going up for
Right.
everything that we know what is driving our economy right now. But the question still comes is, are we now concerned about the labor supply? In other words, what attracted everyone here? Are we over-tapping that, or do we still have a lot of runway?
I think every company, every city is asking that same question: is do we have enough workforce to supply who we have and who we want to be here? And so what we're finding is that our workforce pipeline through the universities, so ASU, U of A, GCU, NAU, we have actually 40 higher ed institutions within Greater Phoenix. So you have the big universities, but then you have Maricopa Community College District with 10 different campuses, and you have many, many private universities here that have different specialties. And then you have the technical training. So like Westmec, EVIT, UAT, Embry-Riddle, these groups that have a more specialized training. So what we're finding is they are producing enough workforce that they're saying they demand. Okay. So then it's a matter of maintaining the influx of people moving here. So we're, 200 people per day, 230 people per day move here. We gained almost 100,000 over the past 10 years. So we're saying we have it now, but then how do we maintain that so that companies can stay here and be successful?
So your job doesn't, or I guess I'll word that differently. Once somebody's moving, once somebody's decided to come, your job's over?
In a way. So our job is attraction, not retention, expansion. That's when we hand over. It's a nice handover to the cities.
But you start working
for the aftercare
on those ancillary pieces?
But we're working on those. That's all part of giving the confidence, the business case of why would I come here? Even if the labor pool is here now,
sure.
How do I know it'll be here in 10 years?
Sure. My
company, ideally, they're still running and successful and maybe even bigger. So we have to have confidence that there's enough power, enough water, enough workforce for my business to continue to grow so we don't have to move again. So the aftercare is more of a city service, but it's something that we supplement and support if we need to, do that kind of study for them to build that confidence in the future.
But you got to keep them here. That's retention.
Yep.
We don't want them to stay here for 10 years and leave.
That's right.
Let's take a break for a second. We'll be right back.
Torrey Contracting, your full-service Division 9 contractor. Torrey Contracting operates with a smaller, hands-on team. This cohesive structure results in superior workmanship and economical solutions. We deliver projects with unsurpassed commitment to quality and stewardship of budget. Torrey Contracting, small enough to listen, big enough to deliver.
We joked earlier about the social media thing. So I've got to say it. So I don't remember what day it was last week. You made a post, or your team posted about you being on. I took that and shared it on the Mac and Blue page. And I kept watching. I kept getting these, I think we're now up to like 110 likes. And it's all, no, not all GPEC people, not all your friends that you told them, but
She pays them well.
But no, it is the who's who in the economic development world.
Yeah.
I mean, you look through it and it's everybody. You are really connected.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. It's very, very cool to see. And now that we've met you and listened to you, it's clear why you are where you are. You're very talented and very smart.
Well, I think it goes to another thing that we always talk about. This is America's largest small town, right?
Totally.
So I don't care if it's like if her and I would have met in her, white stays,
Mhm.
that fraternity of GCs. You and I talk about this all the time, Robert. We're all competitors, but at the end of the day, it's like the biggest friendship fraternity you've ever seen.
Oh, it really is.
And look at you in Division 9
Yeah.
specialty stuff. You
Yep.
guys all know each other, and yet you go to
Absolutely.
other parts of the country, and it's not like that at all.
Well, and GPEC is really built on exactly that. The cooperative competitiveness, regionalism is the word for it in economic development.
I like that word.
Where-
I'm glad you're
Write that
going
down.
here. I'm glad you're going here too.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So that's what founded GPEC was 30 years ago. So GPEC's 32 years old now. And there's an agreement between the cities and towns and communities that here's our mode of operation, here's what GPEC does, and here's how we will work side by side together. I'm not cooperatively necessarily, but we're not poaching companies across jurisdictional lines because that's a net zero gain. That doesn't help grow anything.
Yeah, but you bring up a great point here. Cities, municipalities are very competitive about
BD.
the big boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you handle that?
So we're a neutral third party, right? We
Mhm.
are single point of contact for
Switzerland.
Mhm.
this. Yeah. a
Yeah,
little
you're
bit.
Switzerland.
Yep. Single point of contact for whether it's the site consultant or the company or the broker, whoever is acting on behalf of the company. And so we work then as a facilitator to connect the company with then their options. So the way we work is if we get a requirement, we need 1 million square feet of warehouse space, we need 32-foot clear, this much water, this much power. We put that out to all of our cities, all of our member cities, and say, hey, if you have property in your jurisdiction that matches these requirements, please send us those properties for consideration. So we'll hand those back to then the company. The company said, yep, I like options 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. I want to meet those cities, those owners,
Okay.
those brokers.
That makes sense.
And then really it's then at the city's level to provide, why would you come here? What are
Now
the
you
assets? What are
know
the
where
benefits?
those I would say in most cases you know where those open spaces where they've got that square footage. I would think the only way that you could continue doing what you do is not saying, "Oh man, there's a perfect spot in Glendale that you need to go to."
Right.
But you handle that by getting submissions
Yep.
from people.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Makes absolute sense.
And some cities are small enough that they know exactly how many square feet in the developments that are happening. And
Sure.
some are so big that it's hard to keep track of them all.
Infrastructure, they may not have the water, the sewer,
Right,
the whatever.
exactly. And brokers are great about sending us their property information too directly. Just say, hey, just so you know, this is here. So if a requirement comes in, we don't see it come from the city. We just ping the city and say, hey, we heard about this property. Do you want to also include it? Or is there some reason that it shouldn't be considered for this project? And sometimes there is. Maybe it's too big of a water draw,
Mhm.
or, I mean, who knows? It's lots of different reasons. But
Sure.
So, hey, that topic alone. Okay,
Mm.
so with all the, let's call it sensitivity and concentration on water conservation and everything that's going on to our neighbors to the north, which
Mhm.
we border. How are you handling that, and how is GPEC handling the water question right now?
Yeah, water question and response for us is all about facts.
Yep.
What are the facts? Because let's just say what's true.
That's the safest.
So what
way.
are some of the high-level facts that you can share right
Yep.
now?
So we were at a conference a few weeks ago for semiconductor, and we got asked the water question. I probably told the water story about 100 times.
Can
So
you
thanks
do
for asking.
it?
I can
Can
do
you
it
do it
one more
100
time.
first? Yeah.
I can do it one more time.
The Reader's Digest version.
Yeah,
but
for sure. So for sure, Arizona's a desert. Greater Phoenix is in the heart of the desert. But what that meant is that we've always been very concentrated on water preservation. This is a very finite asset that we have, and we have to protect it. So in the 80s, we had the Arizona Groundwater Management Act put into place, which really established the requirement that every project had to be given a 100-year water assurance before it could be approved. So that's kind of base level. How do you protect your water asset? If we can't provide this company the water that they need for 100
For
years,
100 years.
for 100 years, then
Deal breaker.
deal breaker. But that's the first thing. Okay, so then 1950s, we talked about that's when development really started spurring because then we had air conditioning. Now we can live here, right?
Mhm.
And so in the 1950s, and even to now, we were very much agricultural based. So the Arizona seas, cattle, citrus, cotton, a couple of those are really high water users, especially the cotton and agriculture. So as we're converting ag land into commercial use, we are actually net gaining water back to the system. So
Remember, that's what just not to interrupt
yeah,
you,
go ahead.
but that's what Nathan talked about down
Yes.
with
Yeah.
global water, right? Down between Maricopa and Casa Grande, I believe that's one of the main things is every
Oh,
time
yeah.
they take something out of production, their aquifer is actually being replenished.
Right.
Yes.
Is that
Right.
correct?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. So there's a couple of different jurisdictions. Some cities operate their own water. Sometimes they have third party. But ultimately, you're gaining water back to the system. And so the tier 1 shortage that was declared in 19 or 20, certainly it had an impact on Arizona business, but it was primarily to agriculture. So the reduction of the allocation of the Colorado River, by the way, we only use about 36% of our water source is the Colorado River. So we have other water sources, including aquifers and then 2 other rivers. So it reduced by 18% our 36% allocation from the Colorado River. So that impact was to ag, not business. And so based on the Water Management Act and our other water providers, I have some notes here, as you guys can see, almost 2 times, 1.75 more water stored than we actually use. And so as companies come,
Wait, I'm sorry. One more time. Say that.
Arizona has 1.75 times more water than we use stored,
Amazing.
mostly in aquifers, but then we also have the dam systems.
Mhm.
So that said, we're in an advantageous water position because we've been thinking about it and acting on it for a long time. Does that mean there's not a problem? We don't need to think about it? Absolutely not.
Yeah, we can't be sloppy with it.
Yeah,
but
right. So there was an infrastructure bill that was passed in November. Senator Sinema helped negotiate that. And so then what that provided was support for water projects and infrastructure projects. There's 13 water and environmental infrastructure projects across the state that would be supported by this bill. So while not Greater Phoenix necessarily, 2 are all greater benefit. So we got SRP working with the Department of Reclamation to modify the Bartlett Dam to actually increase its capacity, as well as Roosevelt Dam.
So we basically have the Verde River and the Salt River, the 2 that we're talking about.
Right.
Correct?
And then a bunch of aquifers.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
but I mean, we live in the desert. It sounds to me like we're just doing an awesome job. I mean, as much building, as much development that has gone on in the last few years for us to be 1.7 times the amount of water stored that we need is amazing to me.
Yeah, it's good news. It's
Yeah.
great news. And so it's a good news story in that we're not in a dire position. It's not what the headlines would make it seem. And in fact, we went on offense about a year ago to talk about our water story because media headlines were the
Sure.
desert Southwest there was no hope, but there is. That said, it doesn't mean that we can't be responsible. And so now once companies express their interest, one of the very first questions is, what's your water use? Because cities have a typical allocation they feel comfortable with of saying, yes, we can serve this. Or if they're very much above it, like 2 or 3 times X, they'll say, but well, what's the profile of the company? How many jobs? What are the wages? What is the benefit? What is the benefit to the community to allocate this very finite asset that they have to this company?
Very interesting.
Yeah. So We're a low
So the
tax.
company, you're having to sell the company to the
A little
to the
bit.
municipality
Yeah, a
in
little
some
bit.
cases.
Yeah. So if you think about like Arizona is a low tax state.
Mhm.
So there's not a lot of cash incentives offered because there's not a lot of cash to give because we're not taxing them.
Mhm.
So instead, you have to think about what are the other assets that are like cash. I mean, they say water's, what is it? Whiskey is for drinking and water is for fighting. I've heard that before.
Oh, I'd believe that.
And so that becomes a negotiation point or a point of consideration for companies and cities.
Amazing.
My brain's going 800 miles an hour right now.
Oh, no, it's just like all this.
I got smoke coming out of my ears, which doesn't take a lot when you've had 3 lobotomies. But
Yeah.
all right, so wow. All right, let's switch.
'Kay.
Let's go down power now. So how?
Did you hear it? No.
She's like,
No,
oh.
I mean, we have 2 really great power partners, APS, SRP, that service the greater Phoenix area. Their portfolios are really impressive. And they both have great lofty goals to convert their fossil fuels to renewables, or what's the other word? Renewables and solar.
Well, that's a renewable
Yeah.
too. But so give an example. I think you've nailed the water. But if a company's asking about power, how do those conversations usually go? Especially, let's take a semiconductor, for instance,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yep. So that's another one of those first round questions is how much power do you need? If
Okay.
they're a low power user, so we'll say like 5 megawatts or less per year. So we're talking annual consumption. Typically, substations have capacity or close to capacity. This is a very general statement, and we have to. It's very
Right.
project specific. But generally in that 5 or less, substations are built and can have capacity and can handle that service. But if it's larger than that, then we're looking at okay, what is your ramp up time? Do you need all 13 megawatts year one, day one, or are we ramping up? What does that look like? And if it is indeed that they need a lot of power very quickly, the main constraint right now is supply chain for the equipment for the
Sure.
power companies.
Yeah.
Those transformers.
Transformers,
Yep.
as we all,
Yeah.
any of us
as
in the
you
construction
know.
space, get in line, and you might have one by the time George Jetson lands
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, right. So that's one of the main constraints for that. But we're very fortunate to have there's like 99% reliability. We talk about one of the other business case reasons for companies to come here instead of maybe Texas is continuous business operations. We have very few natural disasters. We don't have snow. We don't have hurricanes. Nothing's shutting down the roads. Nothing's preventing goods and services from going here to there or people here to there.
Sure.
So continuous business operations includes not only natural disasters, but then power. We have 99% reliability. In some cases, you can get redundancy. So that's really important to companies. If you think about Samsung and what happened to them during the freeze in Texas, they lost days, if not weeks, of production, which is billions of dollars for them. The risk for that happening here is much lower. So that's another point of site selection consideration for a company.
Now, forgive my ignorance, but did they decide to do both? Speaking of them specifically, because remember, weren't they picking Austin over here originally?
Mm-hmm.
And now, didn't they come back out and publicly state that they were going to do both? Or am I missing?
Oh,
it?
I don't know.
Well,
Good scoop.
Okay, well, maybe,
Yeah. I
Maybe
think you asked a question you're not supposed to be asking.
I don't
I
know.
will-
I don't
Yeah.
know.
As far as I know, they're still
Not here.
committed to Texas.
Okay,
yeah.
got it. Then you would know better than me.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading too much on LinkedIn.
So, I mean, so you're having to, when you're talking about somebody moving in, you may have to get the SRP, APS, and those people involved very early
Oh yeah.
to determine whether or not where they're wanting to go or whether Arizona or the greater Phoenix area is even a target
Right. Yes.
in some cases.
SRP and APS both have economic development professionals on their teams that we engage with regularly. When there's a company comes to the market and wants to tour sites, very regularly do we ask the power provider for the sites to come in and give an overview and help the company understand where's the nearest substation to the property, what's the capacity there, how fast can we serve you, is there more, or does let's say equipment wasn't an issue. Let's say transformers, you could get them. It's still going to be some duration of time to
Correct.
increase the capacity of that substation. So those are the conversations we have just so companies know, like, what is it going to take to operate in this location?
It's legitimately a pitch.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big pitch to get one to come in.
So, Samantha, another thing I just thought of is, okay, it's awesome you have these connections at power, water, whatever. Are there other industry-specific groups that you're constantly, like, almost on a surrogate board, if you want to call it? Like, one I'll throw out there is NAOP a strategic ally of yours?
Yeah. So NAOP is for sure. That's a lot of brokers and some developers have membership there, and they're our allies in not only bringing pipeline of projects for us to help build that business case, but then they're the ones helping us see the properties. So for sure.
Okay.
Brokers are a big pipeline. So NAIOP, Urban Land Institute.
Oh, ULI.
ULI. Yep. I'm in an industry organization called CREW, Commercial Real Estate CREW Network. We have a local chapter, AZ CREW. I'm going to be the president next year.
Congrats.
Oh,
That's pretty
very
exciting.
cool.
So that's a big one. And then we tend to then join industry-specific organizations. So I mentioned the conference we went to a few weeks ago is called Semicon West. And SEMI, SEMI, is the semiconductor industry organization. They host worldwide events. There's a battery show we go to. There's economic development specific and site selection specific shows. It really just depends on, where is our target audience going to be? Are they going to be at conferences? Are they going to be at, events? Where are they going to be? Because that's where we want to align ourselves.
Yeah, you're talking my thing now.
Yeah.
No, that
Way to go, BD guy. Come on.
Yeah, no. It's just, again, you talked about it with project management. BD is the same with every. It's just, I just get geeked out listening to all that goes into and how long, because it's the same thing on my end.
Yeah.
I'm talking to people a year and a half, 2 years before a project ever even comes out of the ground. Just how long it takes to get one of these and everything that encompasses. And then it's all the spinoffs from all the ancillary businesses that are going to be feeding those companies. It's just amazing stuff. And I know that we've covered this before with previous guests, but why is economic development so important?
I mean, you were alluding to it earlier when you were like, oh, I didn't realize so much went into this.
Sure.
I mean, it's very intentional. We're trying to be very strategic now. And as is every city, of like, what stage of growth are we in as a city? Are we nascent? Are we maturing? Are we matured? Or are we in a place where we need to really reinvent ourselves? And so there's a lot of proven practices and best practices about how to do those things and what are the best approaches and who needs to be involved, who's a stakeholder, who has a role to play in strategically inviting companies to be as part of our community. And then how do you support it on the retention and expansion? You have your workforce, you have small business, you have your entrepreneurs. So economic development is very multifaceted. And without one piece of the puzzle, you're just not doing as well as you could. You're not doing as much as you could. And if you're not doing it strategically, it's not going to last very long.
Yeah, that strategically, I guess, is the.
So one thing I realized that we haven't talked about is we keep focusing on the commercial industrial side, but companies need housing for their employees. How is GPEC addressing the housing situation? If I was to pretend I'm that multinational company that wants to come here and I'm talking to you, how are you guys currently addressing the housing issue?
So with a lot of data.
Okay, just data.
Yeah, a lot of facts, a lot of data, anecdotes as well, maybe testimonials from other companies. So GPEC's mission is to grow base industry, which is commercial and industrial. So not a lot of residential, retail, hospitality, but it doesn't mean we don't know anything about it.
True.
So I'd also say, data from the housing jurisdiction or housing authorities and housing organizations, getting a lot of that data. Also from our brokers. So like the big houses have multifamily, capital markets, so on and so forth. And then the local jurisdictions, they know about the housing options. Like the city of Phoenix knows about the housing developments near TSMC, near these other developments. So they're also our resources to help provide the information that they need.
And if at a very high level, is everyone embracing that? Do they feel that it's in balance right now, or is it imbalance right now? Or don't we know?
I would say we're feeling imbalanced. Just, what the numbers are showing us is our median household price is in the 400s. 2 years ago it was in the 200s.
Wow,
so that just
double.
means economic scale is we don't have enough supply, and that's what's driven up the price. So I think we're all on board with getting
and probably the multifamily as well. Because,
more. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
What have we not talked about, JJ?
Your next jacket? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she might be. She probably has some
I
good
was
solutions.
thinking about, I don't know if you meant it as a legitimate question
I did.
or if it was rhetorical, but back to where you were saying, what stage are we at? Nascent or mature or whatever. Don't answer that one, but I'm curious, what are you targeting for the other industries to round out where GPEC wants the overall development to go?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think so. We talked a lot about semi, a lot about industrial. The other thing that we're seeing is, well, EV, the electric vehicle, autonomous vehicle, that industry start to concentrate here with Lucid, Nikola,
Sure.
Drive 48, the workforce pipeline program out of the community college in that area. So that's another sector we're seeing grow. And then out of that, you could see batteries, production, recycling, so the lifespan of batteries, and that includes then raw material and so on and so forth. So that thing multiplies. And then we're getting into other industries related to like advanced manufacturing in the healthcare space. So wear tech, biomed, we've got some great universities and partnerships, the ASU Mayo, that thing's going to blow up, no doubt. You have the Phoenix Biomedical Campus downtown, partnership between U of A and ASU. Other, of course, Huntington University and some other universities. I'm sorry, not Huntington, Midwest University, Midwestern, and then even Ottawa is starting up a nursing program. So we're starting to see growth in healthcare also.
Just to interrupt for the layperson, do you remember how big, what was the acreage that they allocated up to the Mayo thing? Does anyone remember that?
I don't recall.
It's a large chunk, right?
Several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, state, state
Wow,
land doesn't
the official word.
That's in McCook. That'd be
Oh, yeah, right.
sections,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Oh my gosh.
For us
Did you ever go to
Midwesterners.
McCook? Have you been
Oh, heck
there?
yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to talk about
Yeah. Crop circles.
What's the population of McCook today?
8,000.
Yeah, I
Ish.
grew up in a little town like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would have been the big city for me.
Yeah.
For 8,000
Well,
years
it's the
or smaller?
Walmart town.
I grew up in
The Walmart town.
Yeah, man. So like when I
Okay.
tell people where I'm from and like what my life was like, so I lived in the 2,000 person town an hour away, and we'd like go to church, and then when church service is over, you ask everyone, "Hey, do you need anything from Walmart? We're going to Walmart," and it's like a day trip to the Walmart town. Visit my grandma, visit our family.
I did. I grew up in a town like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and to think from that to business development and economic development in
one of the fastest growing communities in the world. Yeah.
it's just a mind blower.
You know, and I'm just so grateful for it to have had such a diverse experience, not only like places that you could live and the communities and like from small to mid to then fifth largest, but then being private sector, being public sector, now nonprofit. What a cool, diverse experience, and like just being able to relate to so many people in so many different ways is like amazing. I'm very grateful for it.
Can you just, you mentioned it earlier, and I think we've had some other guests on that have really hammered it home, but I'd love to hear your spin on, you mentioned that I know this number was pretty cool because I didn't realize this. We'd have always focused on the big four on higher ed. But to think, you said 40, when you take trades and everything else, that number, it kind of blew me away.
No,
so much that
definitely.
I circled it about 10 times on the cheat sheet here. But from your viewpoint, Samantha, what else are you seeing innovation-wise on connecting education to this whole workforce thing
Oh man.
without geeking out?
Oh man, I can't.
Yeah, she immediately
Come
All right,
on.
well then geek
started
out.
hyperventilating. Yeah.
We got enough time. We got
Yeah.
we got a defibrillator in here. So
Yeah.
My boyfriend calls that the idea face when my
I gotcha.
eyebrows go up and my eyes get wide. Yeah.
I thought we were just dilating your pupils.
That's right.
So a couple things come to mind. You might have seen Phoenix Business Journal published an article about a Fresh Start cohort graduating from the Maricopa Community College Quick Start program. This is,
I did see that.
yeah, isn't that amazing? So
Wow.
it's a semiconductor tech quick start program. It's 10 days long, so 2 weeks. And what they graduate with is then this entry-level qualifications to work for any semiconductor company. And you
Amazing.
could really even bring that into any advanced manufacturing company because it's engineering, it's electric, it's mechanical. It's like, how does this work on a basic level? Because level 2 is much more specific and much longer, like semesters long. So this is a quick start program. So what they have set up, it's mirrored after what they did with Boeing. They had a similar quick start program with Boeing to really fill in that pipeline. So they're graduating cohorts of 12 every 2 weeks. and they have 750 people on a wait list for that program. Isn't that wild? So I think they'll have 4 campuses offering this at full build out. And so the way they're staffing this is actually with adjunct faculty from Intel. 49 adjunct faculty employees from Intel.
Yeah, there's probably enough doctors there anyway.
Yeah.
So that's one program.
That's just one
That's one
program.
program.
Yeah.
Maricopa Community College actually offers lots of different things. The corporate college is another great partnership where they partner with companies to build curriculum to train employees for that company. They also there's a Maricopa IT Institute, which offers certificates in IT-related fields. Then Maricopa Community College also offers 4-year degrees, bachelor degrees now. They're partnering with Phoenix.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Right.
that was very cool. Michael Crow actually, he had, gave his blessing or endorsed, or maybe I'm putting words in his mouth, but he came out in support of this 4-year degree offering from the Maricopa Community College level. Just we need the workforce.
Right.
It's not better for ASU to have all the 4-year degrees if to the detriment of our employers. So that was very cool.
Well, I mean, we all know right, wrong, or indifferent. We're not here to be judge or jury, but ASU just moves the needle consistently all the time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And you have, you hear out in our community, you hear, oh, why are they doing that? But at the end of the day, I mean, what they've done nationwide as setting the bar for what a higher ed school does at that scale, I think is more
Right.
than anything.
Right.
And I'm just sure you see it all the time.
Yeah. One of the cool things they did in response to industry is within their School of Engineering, they actually created a new college. So you have the construction engineering, mechanical, civil, so on and so forth. They opened up manufacturing engineering systems. So a new college very much specifically focused on talent for manufacturers with a 4-year degree.
Yeah, why not? Hello.
Yeah.
Get the best beta testing facility.
Yeah.
Petri dish in the world.
Yeah. And so where that really causes me to start thinking is
Oh, hold it. Don't hurt yourself.
no, I already did hurt myself. That's why I'm not really sure what
Damage
I'm about
is
to say.
done.
Yeah. That actually might have happened in the early 70s. But is the manufacturing even that we're seeing in my line of work and where that's going to go, with robotics and all of these things, it's that, and people are so scared that, robots are going to take our job. And we're talking about, really advanced manufacturing here and how many people that it's taking to run these places. And really, I would assume really good paying jobs.
They're very good paying jobs.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting, you asked, what are some of the other workforce solutions? So there's other programs which are very cool, but then also robots are a solution. If you look at the population pyramid, it's not really a pyramid, but the population chart, there's going to be a lack of people. There's not going to be enough people to do the jobs that we had before because the population is different. It's contracting for a qualified workforce. So that is a solution that some companies are going towards. And so even in the semiconductor industry is a good example of there is one employer, it's a gas manufacturer. They're investing $600 million into their campus infrastructure, and they'll have probably less than 30 people because it's so highly automated.
Wow.
So it's a different view, and it's not like you're saying lots of jobs. Sometimes it is, but in some cases it's not because it's so highly automated.
Yeah. And what great opportunities the youngsters of this world have. Yeah. You have a question? Oh, you're pointing at something. Somebody else has a question. You're going to have to tell me what it is because I'm not watching it right now. Just read it.
We trust you, Daryl.
What are the major
Do it.
competing markets for Arizona for the emerging EV tech sectors?
Oh, great question.
It's the legacy auto industry areas. So the Detroit, the Southeast, because they have the legacy workforce. They have the
Interesting.
legacy infrastructure.
So when you say Southeast, what are we thinking?
Southeast.
South Carolina?
Yeah, the
'Cause there's
Carolinas.
BMW and who else?
Yeah.
The traditionals.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are startup auto manufacturers, but they're typically getting purchased by the larger legacy auto
Legacy
manufacturers who
automakers,
are, converting their current plants to make this new product. And in some cases, like battery manufacturing is that's a newer industry and it requires a newer plant. But like I said, they have this legacy industry, workforce, infrastructure already in place in other parts of the country. So that's a competitor market for us.
So as we're talking about that one, is it fair to say that that right now is concentrated south, Casa Grande specific, and it's moving into other areas, correct?
Yeah, it is. So you have some flagships, Lucid, Nikola, further south, but then you have groups like Electra Mechanica is in near Gateway.
Right.
We have a couple others have been concentrating in that Southeast Valley, whether it's partly because the assets there, the workforce is there, their supply chain is in that region. There's lots of different reasons to choose that area, but it doesn't mean we won't start to see
Sure.
a concentration of that elsewhere too.
Speaking of Gateway, what, from your perspective, again, to describe to the audience, if that whole, what do they call that? Like that economic impact zone around there, around Gateway proper, do you have an idea of like how much is left there still to develop? Or don't you know?
Ooh. I can get you specific info, but Mesa Gateway Airport Authority itself owns 3,000 acres of land.
Got it.
So what you see there is already the established, and they've done development deals and land lease deals with those developers, and then the tenants like Virgin Galactic just
Yeah, just
announced.
saw that.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was all over the media.
I toured a satellite manufacturer through there not too long ago, so hopefully we can add some more aerospace stuff there. But they have several thousand acres on the east side of the runway that's vacant. So as you're driving down Highway 24 or Ellsworth or those whichever roads
where those humps are old munition
Yep.
depot were
Yep.
or was.
So the airport's signed an agreement with the developer to develop, be the master planner
Mhm.
developer for that area. So you'll see more commercial, industrial, mixed use development going in there in the near future.
Hence all the industrial on the periphery.
Right.
So makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
What haven't we asked you that you want to share?
Oh, shoot. Let me look through my notes.
Did you get a volleyball scholarship?
No.
Oh, I thought you were I figured you were an overachiever already, so I wanted to give you more. I wanted to give you more street cred.
I went for the academic scholarship instead.
Oh, well, it paid
That's
off.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's obvious.
I was
Yeah.
in the honors college.
Obviously,
I know.
we were too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's see.
That's why we went into construction.
I done well.
Oh, there's a couple things. So, like I mentioned, so GPEC's mission is business attraction. That's our main
Mhm.
gig, right? And so, what are we going to be in the future? You asked that question.
Yeah.
Good. Let me ask that.
So,
What's GPEC going to be in the future?
what are we going to be in the future? I think similar, same, but maybe more. So, if you think about, let's like rewind to 2009 and what Phoenix was then,
Sure.
and not very diverse, very hospitality, tourism, construction jobs based. And then we all lived through that, and that wasn't fun. But you have to admire and respect the leadership from public sector, private sector, education. Many, many people in the business community saw the need to diversify our economy. And so we have the benefit of being what we are today as a result. So you mentioned the transformation of ASU was a big part of that. And so we are where we are today as a result. But now we have to start thinking we are in a great spot. Macros are awesome. We're growing. We're amazing. Everything's great. People are coming here. But what about 10 years from now? What are we prepared for?
Mhm.
What are now we're a new version of Phoenix, Greater Phoenix. We're at the next level, next stage of evolution. What are we going to be in the future? And what are the hurdles we need to overcome to maintain the good things that are happening here? So macros are good, but what about micros? And I think we could name a few things at the micro level that are not going well for us.
Okay.
So take a guess. What's something that you hear about Arizona not doing well?
Oh, man, I wasn't ready for a
Well,
test.
I think the underserved.
Mhm.
It seems like we still have some challenges there
Yeah,
as far as social programs and
Yep,
things like that.
Yep. Schools, K through
Schools.
12 schools,
Oh,
kind of that
schools,
middle
yeah.
class.
Boy,
like
no
that
joke,
type of stuff.
schools. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So when we look at the micro level, I'm saying we, so Royal, we,
Mhm.
GPEC, and then our board and investors who participate in our strategic planning, we identified at the micro level, we have some things we need to work on to ensure continued success. And so what we're calling those are the economic imperatives. And so we came up with a list of 10. And these are it's not a complete list. It's just the first 10 that seem the most important at this point. They're related to education and our talent pipeline. It's related to the environment. We've already talked a lot about water, but
Mhm.
power, and then strengthening our middle class. So I have a list of 10. If you want me to read the 10, I'll
read
read the
'em.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
They're
read them
pretty
off.
good.
It'd be great.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. Advancing career, technical education,
You're fine. Keep going.
STEM,
Sorry.
and engineering pathways. Second one, meet the needs of Title I schools.
Oh,
Third one,
very good.
expand and foster a robust entrepreneurial ecosystem, accelerate industry and university collaborations, capitalize on environmental resiliency practices, so tying back to the water and
Right.
climate. 6, continue the strong history of water planning and conservation, induce smart growth principles and expand community tools for infrastructure and redevelopment, continue modernizing Arizona's tax system. Oh, we did have a property tax legislation passed. I can come back to that. Recently, that was great. Strengthen the middle class and unlock the potential of changing demographics in the region. So these are big.
No,
These are
they're
big concepts.
huge.
Those are macro micros.
I mean, it's
There's
like
big
you
micros.
started naming things, and I'm like, oh
Ugh.
my God.
So-
I mean, we're going to need another hour.
Not to say that GPEC is going to become all things to all people at all, and not to say we're an attraction function at this
Mhm.
point, right? But recognizing that people know us. Now we're on the map thanks to the work of all the business, universities, public sector, landing companies like TSMC puts us on the map and a known entity. And there's a lot of people doing a lot of great work around all of these economic imperatives. So can we use our great power with great responsibility and start harmonizing and putting people together that haven't thought about collaborating before? Or could we just give direction to a collaboration? So while GPEC's likely not the most appropriate entity to take the lead on most of these issues, could we play a role in harmonizing and facilitating
Absolutely.
these conversations and these efforts? Absolutely. So that's why I think you'll start to see more opportunities to, whether our investors or new people want to invest their time, talent, treasure, effort into these imperatives, I hope that they will, because it's important to all of us.
Absolutely. I love when we get questions from listeners.
So-
Okay.
Someone's listening.
You are probably, yes, somebody's listening. We had actually a couple. So the question is, have you explained how you put mermaids in the pool?
Someone asked that.
Mhm.
Guys, I love
Now,
this
I've got to say
story.
that again. The question was, ask her how she puts mermaids in the pool.
Oh my gosh. It's one of my favorite stories. Thank you to whoever asked that.
Do you have any ideas who it was? I know who it was.
It could be Josh Jefferson.
That's who it was.
He teased me up so well. Well, so when I was interviewing to work for Surprise, they asked me what's your approach to sales? And so I told this story about, I went to Night Flight. The Scottsdale 2030 Club put on this big extravagant fundraiser at Talking Stick Casino, and we were in that pool plaza area. And so you walk, it's black tie attire, it's red carpet, velvet ropes, fire dancers, chrome cars, cigar bar, like just opulent, over the top, everything. Like this is a big event. And I'm just like walking around because I'm like baby Sam, I don't know, mid-20s, like, whoa, this is so amazing. And then I look around, and in the pool, there are people who are dressed up as mermaids, and like they look like real mermaids. I'm like, oh my gosh, who thought after all of this to put mermaids in that pool? And so as I started thinking about like my sales approach, or like, how do I make an impression? I want to put mermaids in the pool. I want to
wow.
do that one thing that's just like it's over the top and not necessary, but man, it makes an impression. And so I told that story in my interview with Surprise. And Janine, I'm sorry, I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to tell the story, but I don't think you'll mind. Janine's like, oh my gosh, I know what you mean. She's the director of the department over there. I know what you mean. One time I went to this Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie concert. And if you know Janine, she looks like Snow White. She is like fair skin, black hair, big blue eyes, very demure, like wonderful person. And you're like, what? She's like, yeah, I went to this Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson concert one time. And Marilyn Manson was like, kind of did the thing he does, and like as expected, and it was fine. But then Rob Zombie comes out and like pyrotechnics and flashing lights and all these things, and you're like, whoa, this is more than I expected. I was already planning to like this, but now it's like, wow. So we bonded over mermaid.
You want to put mermaids in the pool, and she wants to be Rob Zombie.
So now I want to put zombie mermaids in my pool.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't even know how to end it, but that's the perfect time.
With that, Daryl will have her on another show. There's
Oh,
no
my
question.
my
More
goodness.
stories.
How can people get a hold of you if they'd like to?
Oh, I would love to hear from people. LinkedIn is probably
Okay.
the best way
Yeah.
to connect with me, or please visit gpec.org, gpec.org.
Okay.
We have
There's connections to you directly on that
connections
site.
to me. You can find me on our team page, and we have so much free information about ecosystems and industry and workforce and what it means to do business in Arizona. So
We're going
please
to blow it
connect.
up on social media too this week.
Please.
So
Thank you.
just watch for it. I don't know what else to say, but thank you.
another hour.
I don't know why. I don't know why you were here, but I mean, she was fantastic.
Just to
Oh,
make
you
sure you
guys.
were behaving as
Perfect.
usual.
Awesome, Daryl.
Uncle Daryl, take us away.
Hey, we'll
Thanks,
see you next week.
guys.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Torrey Contracting and Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Robert Johnson and JJ Levinsky on LinkedIn and Instagram. And tune in live every Monday at 3 p.m. as we continue to introduce you to the people building Arizona. Walt Disney said, "You can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality." Until next time, make it a great day.